Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Sunday, September 24th, 2023, the first day of Yom Kippur, and a fitting day for this Gematria lesson, or Gematria lesson. But I want to talk about the Kennedy curse. And if you have not read my first book, Letters and Numbers, there's a chapter in that book on the Kennedy curse. There's also a chapter on all the presidents who've died in office. So you get some overlap and additional information with the Kennedys. But something I had not talked about in a long time, because I actually forgot about this, was JFK's infant child died shortly before his assassination. And Patrick Kennedy was born August 7th, 1963, and he died 2 days later, August 9th. Again, the day leaving 144 days left in the year, the number that defines the Kennedy curse, 144. Again, JFK died 144 days from meeting with the Pope, and RFK died at 1:44 in the morning. And as we've been talking about, RFK Jr. officially got in the race this year for the presidential election on April 5th, which was 144 days after the Jesuit Superior General's birthday. Now, the death of this child, again, August 9th, that is the day, leaving 144 days left in the year. And Gematria, or Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words, Jesuit orders 144, so is Kennedy curse, so is Kennedy family, and so is President Biden. And again, Joe Biden, who's had it seems like there's a Joe Biden curse with his family, but remember, JFK was killed at age 46. He was the nation's first Catholic president. Joe Biden's the second Catholic president, number 46, elected exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. And of course, he lost his son, Joe Biden Jr., at age 46. And that was another ritual. But President Biden also has that gematria of 144. And again, with regards to the Jesuits, the military order of the Catholic Church, whose first university in the U.S. is in Washington, D.C., Georgetown, which was established just before George Washington became the first recognized president. Again, Georgetown on June 12th, 2020, exactly 144 days before the election, simulated that Joe Biden would win. Donald Trump would refuse to step down, saying he had been cheated, and it would lead to a deadly altercation in America. Hello, January 6th. All of that was simulated exactly 144 days before the election. And Joe Biden, Jesuit educated like Donald Trump. And let's not forget that right after Trump became president in 2017, he went to Jerusalem for Jerusalem Day, and then he went directly from there to the Vatican. And he was at the Vatican on May 24th, 2017, posing with the first ever Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, on the 144th day of the year. Again, May 24th. And here it was. This was the photo from the 144th day of the year. Jesuit Trump, Jesuit Pope Francis. Another 144 special. So again, the point I'm making is, what is really behind this Kennedy curse, and why has this number truly plagued this family? Are these a curse, or are these rituals and sacrifices to the order that stands behind the Catholic family? And, of course, the upcoming election that RFK Jr. is in, that election will end on the very special Jesuit Day, Guy Fawkes Day, remember the 5th of November, 2024, which will be exactly 144 days after Donald Trump's birthday. And don't forget, it's the 60th U.S. presidential election, and the word order alone is 60, and Donald Trump has the 60 gematria, and last year, Trump's ex-wife died exactly 60 weeks into the Jesuitic nation year, 45 years after their marriage. Of course, he's number 45. The Jesuit acronym IHS has the 45 gematria. But 144, and again, just before JFK's 144 assassination, his child dead on the day leaving 144 days left in the year. And I know I'm being super redundant in these videos with the patterns, but I'm hoping each video reaches a new person and wakes at least one more person up, because these patterns need to get caught onto. We're going to be talking about these same things over and over during the election as more rituals unfold. Just like how on August 9th this year, which just passed recently, last month, we were doing videos that day talking about the history of assassinations in 144, going back to Lincoln and through the Kennedys. And then in the headlines that day, that same day, August 9th, somebody running for president in Ecuador, which was established 46 years after America, got assassinated. And notice he was born in 63. He was born in 63, the year of JFK's assassination, the year JFK lost his child. He died 63 days before his birthday as well. I mean, what are the odds of these things? These are rituals. And again, Ecuador established 46 years after America. And Ecuador was established on May 24th, the 144th day of the year. In the New World, the Americas, where everything's based on the Latin languages, the languages of Rome. And the Jesuits served the Roman Catholic Church. And in the time of the first Jesuit Pope, we also have the first Superior General who's also from Latin America. But this day, August 9th, the day of this assassination, what was going on in the U.S. that day? Remember, the FBI reportedly arrested a man in Utah who was plotting to kill Joe Biden on the same day. And Joe Biden, number 46. Again, elected exactly 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, going with the 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament and the fact that Catholic equals 46 in Gematria. But these are rituals. It's just so obvious that these are rituals. And it's very obvious who's behind these rituals. And I'm going to take a few calls here in a little bit as I finish up the presentation. And the only people I want calls from are the people who think all of this stuff is a coincidence. Or the people who supported a video that was put out last night by somebody who used to be helpful in the community, but for the last 3 years has been ridiculing and making the work look really dumb. It's just amazing. In the time of COVID, they just changed script. Again, in the beginning of coronavirus, we were documenting how everything was 56. Society of Jesus 56, coronavirus 56, Anthony Fauci 56, Gavin Newsom 56. 56 years after Trump's Jesuit education began at Fordham, the 56th governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo from Fordham, also Jesuit educated, and all the other 56s from Lori Lightfoot to Jenny Durkin to Tom Hanks to the 56% more infectious strain. The person I'm talking about put out a video back then in 2020 when we were documenting all this, and they said that they didn't think it was the Jesuits, and then their counter argument was that they were eating a brand of salsa that had 56 gematria, so they could make the argument that the salsa was responsible for the coronavirus. And I was just like, how can you be doing? I mean, the person I'm talking about was making good videos for 4 or 5 years before COVID. And it just makes me wonder about some of the people that hang around this community and who are trying to discredit the work, especially in this time that's so important. But to right now be uploading video after video for 3 years straight that it's not the Jesuits and it's just the universe and all this stuff's just organic, it's absolute insanity. And again, it is the Jesuits. That's why they've been warned about for centuries. It's why we're on their calendar speaking their language, why DC's their stronghold before the feds got there, why the news is a mockery every single day with all these inserted numbers that don't need to be in there. You know? I'm sure it was just the universe that got the dead Kennedy's drummer last year at age 63, right? I'm sure that was just organic, coincidence. Dead 111 days after his birthday, no less, when dead Kennedy's is 111 and Kennedy alone's 111. And we just talked about this yesterday with the Roseburg story, the same place where RFK gave his gun control speech right before his death that was synced up with the major gun control that year at the end of 68. But, it's just amazing to me because when I see the video put out last night too, I see people in the comment section cheering it on who also in 2020 when COVID was breaking out, they were over here supporting the work. Now they're over there cheering essentially against the work. I mean, this is sick. It's sick that people are like this. Do people not see that the world is being fucked with in a very severe way and the people who are doing it are very apparent and we've got a laser focus on them with a big spotlight? It's amazing to me that in this time people are like, I just think it's all a coincidence, all these things. Here's another Patrick Bouvier Kennedy coincidence. What time does it go down in the history books that he died at? It goes down that he died at 4:04 a.m. 4:04. What do we know about that time? Is that, Is that like 44? Like how JFK was the 44th term president? Like how everybody and their mother's been killed by these same numbers, 44 and 144? Lincoln shot on 14/4 after dreaming 10 days earlier on April 4th that he'd be assassinated. That's the way it goes down in the history books. MLK on 4/4. Malcolm X on 44 date numerology. MLK on April 4th. When you spell out April 4th as words, it equals 144 like Jesuit order. They had to point out that he died after 39 hours of living. What day did JFK die? Did he die on the day leaving 39 days left in the year? Did he die in Dealey Plaza, named after a Scottish Rite Freemason, where the Scottish Rite was created by the Jesuit order? Came to power in France, did the Scottish Rite, where the Jesuits were created? I mean, all these things are factual. The video that was made last night, the reason it's so annoying is because he's saying that all we've ever done is just connect numbers to make our point about the Jesuits. It's like, really? I thought we made the point that all the people running the show whose faces are everywhere that everyone's fighting over are all Jesuits in high places. I thought that's the point we were always making, not to mention the centuries of warnings about the Jesuits, not to mention the fact that things like Lincoln blamed the Civil War on the Jesuits, and Jefferson and Adams were worried what would happen when the Jesuits came out of suppression. Who else would be doing this? The Jesuits are known for being occultists. This is occult knowledge. Comes from Kabbalah, which the Crusaders brought back to the Catholic Church after the Crusades. The Templars, again, the Templar cross, in the middle of the Jesuit logo. Like, seriously, how can you be making these arguments? That it's just numbers? So Gavin Newsom's not a Jesuit, Anthony Fauci's not, Trump's not, Biden's not? I mean, come on. This is a joke. This is a joke. JFK Jr., what happened to him? Look at where JFK Jr. was living when he died. North Moore Street. What are the odds that it equals 63 forwards and backwards like the year his dad died? What are the odds that it equals 144 like the Kennedy curse, like his dad's ritual with the Pope? And notice North Moore Street's 180 as well. When you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Kennedy curse is also 180. In that same cipher, you're fired's 144. Of course, Trump's whole thing. Trump came to be an authority figure through The Office. Or, no. God, what was the show called? The Apprentice. The Apprentice, the initial degree of Freemasonry. He won the 58th presidential election. Freemasonry equals 58, like secret society. Announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower. But anyway, Kennedy curse and North Moore Street, where he was living when he got in the plane crash, have 3 out of the 4 Gematria ciphers. And that crash just happened to happen 180 days after RFK Jr.'s birthday, who was born in 54, who just got in the race officially 144 days after the Superior General's birthday. The same person I'm talking about that made the video last night, he said it was dumb to sync things up with Arturo Sosa. How is it dumb to... literally, I don't mean to pick on this guy, but he works at a gas station, right? And he always seemed like the brightest guy to ever work at a gas station. But the last 3 years, it's like, okay, somebody paying him extra money to help out the family, to dismiss exactly what we're proving every day? Like, what is going on? But again, RFK is born in 54. Both Dealey Plaza and Ambassador Hotel are also 54. Like John Carroll's 54, who founded Georgetown at age 54. Like how Georgetown just hired Anthony Fauci, and in their statement when they hired him, they had to point out that Anthony Fauci had 54 years of public service. And 54 also equates with what? Of course, the word sun, where the Catholic Church is a sun cult that has the word world worshiping on Sunday. Again, there's rhyme and reason behind the numbers. But yeah, to say that all of this is a coincidence and it could be your salsa bottle that's behind it all, because what are you eating, a brand of salsa today that equals 144? I mean, how's that even an argument? It's literally so stupid. It's mind-blowing. And then to see people who used to be good supporters of the work, who helped share it, now over there cheering that shit on, it's like, were all these people just hanging around for years just to do what they're doing? Is it like some kind of operation to make it feel like, oh, see, Zach, you should quit, everybody's fallen off. Now they're cheering against you. These people are fucking losers, man. All of you guys who are watching this video right now, you're fucking losers. The world is getting fucked right now, and you guys are trying to fuck up like the one message that exposes what's actually going on. Nobody else has it. Sorry, they don't. People come here and say, Zach, you just have one little piece? Fuck you. One little piece? This is the biggest fucking piece there ever was to show what's going on in the world with the way we're being fucked with. And all you morons who come around and say, you never discussed the organic side of the code, also shut the fuck up. I have 2 books, and both conclude with the organic side of the code and why there is relevance to the Kabbalistic belief about God, letters, numbers, words. But it's also very obvious that the media is not the work of God every day. It's very obvious that it's a manipulation. The fact that this video was just made the other night, when we just showed the Woo's News broadcast of how big of a manipulation January 6th was. And remember, who predicted everything about January 6th accurately before it happened, talking about the Transition Integrity Project 144 days before the election, and saying how the Jesuit shenanigans would be going on, and where it synced up with the Jesuit ritual of George Floyd? Who called all that before it happened? That's right, I did. And what was the consequence? Channel deleted again. The guy who works at the gas station saying it's a salsa bottle never had his channel deleted. I wonder why that is. Anyway, it's not a curse, you guys. It's a sick fucking joke. And how old was JFK Jr.'s wife when they died, by the way? She was 33. Most Peer Cipher. Kennedy, Federal, Masonry, Secrecy, Order, they're all 39. Federal, Masonry, and Secrecy, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, are all 30, or did I just say 39? They're all 33, like her age of death, but Federal, Masonry, and Secrecy, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, all equal 39. Just like how the child lived for 39 hours, and then JFK was killed on 11/22, 11 plus 22, 33, the day leaving 39 days left in the year. But yeah, again, I just can't believe how dumb people are. And again, just looking at all this, it's like, this is why humanity's fucked. This is why a gang of sociopathic psychopaths rule the world. Because they're very cooperative and work together. And everybody else in this world, seemingly hardly anyone knows how to cooperate. I mean, for so many turncoats in the community to start attacking the work, when we're making the most crucial points we've ever made, not to mention who forecast that 2020 be a really fucked up year 5 years before it happened. Yeah, that's right, it was also me. And how did I know that? Because understanding that the numbers and the way they're used ritualistically. Why Thomas Jefferson said there should be a revolution every 19 years, and how 19 relates with the cycle of the moon on a 19-year cycle, and how it relates to their chaos code, again, from the 19 hijackers of 9/11 in 2001 to 19 years later, the COVID-19 pandemic, where they keep calling it COVID-19 because that number is so symbolic to them. And again, it's like, I want to live to see what 2039 is going to be like at the rate we're going. It can be Ready Player One. Also, look at the day just even Patrick Bouvier Kennedy was born. August 7th, which can be written 7/8. Again, well, I mean, how perfect. Kennedy 78. You know what year the band Dead Kennedys came out? This guy? The Dead Kennedys were formed in 78. Think that's an accident? Well, we know how the entertainment world is controlled by this same game. Everything we just showed about Tupac's death. What is that, just the universe? Tupac, dead on Caesar Borgia's birthday, White Jesus. And then his last album, it's called Machiavelli. Instead of Tupac, a play on Machiavelli, who wrote The Prince, based on Caesar Borgia. And then the album with Tupac on the cross like Jesus with Machiavelli on the cover comes out on the very special Jesuit Day. And then all these years later, Travis Scott's performing on the stage with a big cross. And then you have another tragic killing at that event on that day. On this Jesuit Day where year after year it's ritual after ritual. Was it just the universe when the Astros lost and then the Astro World tragedy happened and then UB40 of Astro died and the same Jesuit fingerprints were over all of it? Dan's eating more today. No discernment. Dan's eating more salsa today. Today's got a salsa bottle that equals 111. My salsa bottle equals 111 today. Dan does a lot of eating, so I'm sure he has a lot of salsa bottles. But, I mean, how dumb is this? How dumb is this to make an argument like that? It's just frustrating, you guys, because all the censorship, all the shit we have to work against, the fact that the work never reaches enough people as it should, and then people who used to be contributors in the community are now like the biggest dickheads in the community. Just making the dumbest videos, coming to the dumbest points, and literally lying through their teeth, because like No Discernment Dan knows I talk about the organic side. He keeps making in these videos, Zach ignores like the organic deeper side, which he never elaborates on. He just calls it the deeper side. It's not the Jesuits, it's just like the whole world's connected through numbers. Okay, yeah, there's an element of truth to that. We've talked about that always. But the news is not that element of truth. The news is propaganda every single day. It's ritual every single day. It's obvious, it's scripted rituals every single day paying tribute to history. I mean, this thing with, why does RFK Jr. have to file his papers to run for president on April 5th, the 95th day of the year, when the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses, and do it 144 days after the leader of the Jesuits' birthday? And how can No Discernment Dan be saying that it's a joke to connect things to Arturo Sosa? How's that a joke? Doesn't this make perfect sense? Again, it was also 78 days after his birthday. Kennedy 78. We just talked about it. Jesuit 78. 111 the other way, like his children's health defense is 111. Like the dead Kennedy's drummer dead 111 days after his birthday. April 5th can be written 5-4 or 4-5, going with Ambassador Hotel and Deasley Plaza and Jesuit Order and IHS, and the ongoing history of the same repetitious numbers. Yeah, I mean, there really are a million more examples, but I mean, just right here. I think just right here. And if you've never read my first book, Letters and Numbers, again, there is a chapter in there about the dead Kennedys. That's what the whole chapter's about. And I was just scanning back over it, and I said, oh yeah, I forgot about that, how JFK lost his child right before the assassination. And again, by the same numerical code. Was it just all the universe? Is it just the universe that took Donald Trump, to next to the Pope on the 100? I mean, no. The universe had Gavin Newsom saying 56% of California is going to get coronavirus in 8 weeks, which is 56 days. The first of a gazillion 56 rituals. Actually, it wasn't the first, but it was one of the first. Across the world that we kept documenting. They even had to tell us the UK strain's 56% more infectious. Hey, by the way, how come the Jesuit Order's logo is stained in the glass above the Prime Minister's door at 10 Downing Street, where Boris Johnson turned 56 years old the year of the pandemic? Just like everybody did. The Da Vinci Code guy turned 56 in 2020. Bill's wife, Bill Gates' wife, from a family of Jesuit priests, Melinda, she turned 56 on the Jesuit Order's birthday. Her middle name is French, like the Jesuits are from France. Just non-stop 56 all through the year of coronavirus. Captain Tom's death, 56 days from the first person being vaccinated. Maggie Keenan, whose name equaled 56. Again, Dan had the audacity at the time to say that he didn't think it was the Jesuits, and he could say it was his salsa bottle because he was eating salsa that day that equaled 56. I could, I've tried to ignore his channel since then, but it still shows up in my feed, like last night's video, and I just started watching. I just thought, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable that he's making videos like this. It's like these people aren't serious. The guy works at a gas station, so I got to keep it there. Dan said in the video that I'm doing these videos to get ratings and money. Oh, really? Did Dan forget that the first 5 years I was here, it was nothing but censorship and trying to keep the channel alive and never raised a penny, never tried to raise a penny? Why did I start raising money? Because after 5 years, I found out that I couldn't go back to my old job, and I depleted my savings that I was living on the first 5 years I did it. I mean, I sacrificed my own savings and prime working years that I could have put in to get ahead like the average American's doing. I was trying to speak out against a serious agenda because I saw it was coming. I've seen it coming since 9/11 happened. Are we arguing that 9/11 was organic now? 9/11 was just organic. 2 towers became 0 before they became 1, 201. Other huge Jesuit number. That's why the first Pope lives in Suite 201. Dan made a point last night that 201 doesn't have anything to do with the Jesuits. He said that in his video. He said it connects to so many other things besides the Jesuits. Oh my God. Of course, everything can connect to other things. There's 201 things that happen in the world that aren't Jesuit related. There's probably a gazillion people living in an address 201 across this earth that have nothing to do with the Jesuits. But when there's a coronavirus pandemic simulation called Event 201 that's hosted by a prominent group of Jesuits, That's significant, especially when it starts on the same day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China, and those World Games are literally credited to the Jesuit order, thus why they started in 95 in Italy. The Jesuits, Italy, the Roman Catholic Church, the 95 Theses, the Jesuits are a military order. Okay, that makes it more significant. Looking into the Jesuits, they were preserved by Catherine the Great with 201 Jesuit priests. That's the way it goes down in their history. The first Jesuit pope is the first to live at Suite 201 at the Vatican. I mean, how many 201 death rituals do we need to talk about? How about the real obvious one? Joe Biden's son, Joe Jr., dead 201 days before the Pope's birthday, the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. And every year on that same day, we're talking about a significant death synced up with the Pope. It hasn't just been Joe Biden Jr. on that day, 201 days for his birthday. It keeps happening. Who did the funeral for Beau Biden at age 46 and Joe Biden as number 46? The same Jesuit priest who's the former head of Georgetown, who's named Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan equals 201, like inauguration of the President of the United States equals 201, like the date is 20/1 for inauguration, which is the 201st day of the nation's age, which was not the old inauguration day. It was changed to that, just like how the Capitol was changed to D.C., the Jesuit stronghold. I mean, these are like events in history, factual events that you can follow, and then you have the number code on top of it, and you're like, this is what they're doing. How does Joe Biden lose his wife and daughter in a huge 201 ritual after becoming senator-elect, and then lose his son in a huge 201 ritual, and his wife and daughter were synced up with the Pope of the time, as we talked about? How does the CIA get established on the 201st day of the Pope's age in Jesuit D.C. or near there? Again, how does Donald Trump's ex-wife die in a numerical ritual last year for the 60th upcoming U.S. presidential election, 60 weeks into the Jesuit Ignatian year, and then get buried on the 201st day of the year when she had her first child with Trump on his 201st day of his age, Donald Jr. And we saw the ritual they just did with Donald Jr. that had the same Jesuit hallmarks all over it. The supposed accidental post to Twitter of his father being dead. And remember, Elon Musk, another Jesuit puppet, tried to buy Twitter on 14/4, the day of the Lincoln assassination in history, the same day the Secret Service was created. If you don't know that, the Secret Service was signed into being by Lincoln the same day he was assassinated. RFK Jr. has been on the campaign trail saying his life's at risk because the feds won't honor him a Secret Service detail. Think about that. Secret Service, D.C., the Masonic city, a secret society, all these little rituals, all these cover-ups. Classified information the people can't know. They're not going to release the JFK files for another 50-some years. I mean, again, how many signs are there that a conspiracy's going on? Then you look into it and you find out what these people are about. And as time goes on, you figure out more and more what they're about. Again, me figuring out all this stuff about 144 didn't happen overnight. It took over 10 years of like looking at this from the outside totally, just seeing there's some out numbers, but then finding Gematria, and there's been another decade of Gematria to understand it as clearly as we do. So, let me put that back up there, actually. The wife was 34 when the child died. The words mother and murder both have the Gematria 34. In light of the 60th election coming up again, you guys, and history repeating itself, 1960, what happened out of that election? An assassination. 1860, what happened out of that election? An assassination. Lincoln on 14/4, and then JFK 144 days from the Pope. 1963, the last presidential assassination that was successful. You got the Reagan story, but he lived. And Reagan ended up dying in a big Society of Jesus ritual. Ronald Reagan equals 56, like Washington, D.C., like Society of Jesus. What day did he die? He died on 5/6, the anniversary of the Bobby Kennedy shooting. The anniversary of Black Lives Matter being painted on the streets of D.C., another 56 phrase that goes with all the Jesuit rituals behind it. But yeah, anyway, this Kennedy curse, and the same number over and over. And then out of all... I again, just for all the people who are there cheering No Discernment Dan, and like somebody, they're like, this is more the Gematria we need. Really, more of the Gematria we need right now is just saying there's something deeper going on than number manipulation. it's kind of just the world. We can't be sure it's the Jesuits doing any of this. How can we not be sure? Every Jesuit scumbag that's the face of every agenda right now has been documented and named consistently. The same number of who else would be doing this? Are we getting to the idea that it's actually not somebody will come here and say, well, the Jesuits are just being used by Satan or whatever the evil spiritual forces. Okay, that's an argument that's possible. If that's true, though, don't the Jesuits still need to be stopped? If that's the force that can be used by this evil entity, then don't they still need to be stopped? Again, I mean, the problem with this nation, again, is just that a lot of people aren't qualified to do much more in this world than work at a gas station. And that's also a product of the Jesuit education system. By the way, university and school both have the same gematria as Jesuit order. Go figure. But yeah, here, let me put the phone number up on the screen, and let's hear from these people that seemingly like cheering against really the only effort online to expose what's really going on, who's calling it out before it happens, and why we're now cheering on nonsense. You can't just say it's deeper than the Jesuits, not the Jesuits, and then have no explanation for what the deeper thing is. No, Cuts is not Dan. Cuts is literally a nobody to the community. Cuts has never done anything to help Gematria. I don't know where he came from, but he does also work at a gas station, so I understand the confusion. Yeah, like, why do we have trolls who work at gas stations attacking the work? Is that the new way to supplement the income? The number's up on the screen. It's bottom right corner, 509-560-4982. Somebody phone in and tell me what's going on here. Why are you fighting against me, the person who's literally putting out the information that could stop the agendas that are taking place? People would rise up and do their part. Thanks again, Nathan. I appreciate it. Yeah, RPM. They're always looking for a reason to take down RPM Trey. Again, when we were out in Oklahoma City. By the way, Oklahoma City building that blew up on April 19th, the day in history that Ignatius of Loyola became the first superior general of the Jesuits. Alfred P. Murrah building, 144. Timothy McVeigh, 201. Huge numbers with the Jesuits, 201, 144. If I didn't say so already, Ignatius of Loyola equals 201. Jorge Mario Bergoglio equals 201. That's the first Jesuit pope. Pope Francis, the first to live in Suite 201. Adam in the Hebrew cipher equals 201. Or not 201, 144. Thank you, Eric. That's interesting. Well, you'd think that the 144,000 then might be the descendants of Adam. Which I guess technically you could make is all humanity. So... But yeah, where are the calls? Like, who are these morons that are just constantly lurking online? Are they just all AI and bots? Did we have AI and bots that are... I see the same account names that used to support the work. You know. Here, just while we wait for a call, these people should be out here. Again, Ignatius of Loyola, that's the founder of the Jesuits. Jorge Mario Bergoglio, that's Pope Francis. Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, that's who did the 201 funeral for Beau Biden and the 201 inauguration for Joe Biden. Again, January 20th, 201st day of the nation's age. Here's another good one. Aloysius de Gonzaga, that's out here. That's who Gonzaga University is named after. And let's not forget what they just did at the college basketball tournament where Gonzaga lost to Baylor. Elgin Baylor, who was Jesuit educated, died right before the game on 3-2-2 at age 86. And then Baylor beat Gonzaga with 86 points in the championship. And it was exactly 201 days after Elgin Baylor's birthday. And the coach of Baylor, which is a Christian school, who won, it was 201 days before their coach's upcoming birthday, and they did it in the only city in America that equals 201. You have to run the alphabetic order in reverse, but the only city in America that equals 201 is Indianapolis, where that ritual went down at. And the other year we saw the lineman of the Colts lose his child in a big 201 ritual 201 days after his own birthday, on the Pope's birthday, Saturnalia. And again, Saturn worship, sacrifice to Saturn, those are both 201 phrases. So is Saturnian order, which is interesting because, again, the first Jesuit Pope is the first, he's the first 11 Suite 201, but he's also born on Saturnalia. Saturn's connected to death and judgment. I forget if it's forward or backwards, but there is something in history called the Order of Assassins. It's 201 forwards, in light of the 201s with assassination. Again, from MLK's very Jesuit death. Like, do we just think that's a coincidence? Is there a salsa bottle out there that explains it? Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated on April 4th, 68, the 95th day of the leap year, who assumed the name Martin Luther after the Protestant Reformation later who wrote the 95 Theses. Not to mention, from Martin Luther penning the 95 Theses to the establishment of the Jesuits was 201 months later. But then from MLK's assassination to the first major gun control is 201 days later exactly. And remember, it was 139 days after RFK's assassination, and gun control is 139. But remember Uvalde, the mass shooting at the school on the 144th day of the year, where they said 19 cops stood down while 19 children were killed. Matthew McConaughey became the big celebrity attached to it because it was his hometown, and the killing happened 201 days from his birthday. And then remember, he went to the White House with green Converse, and just to remind you, again, forwards and backwards, green Converse 15201. The shooting was 201 days from his birthday, and then when he was at the White House, it was 150 days from his other birthday. And 150 and 201 are interesting for all kinds of reasons. Heliocentrism equals 150 and 201. Again, in the 16th century, you got the heliocentric model after the Jesuits. At the same time you got the calendar we're on, and the same time you got English standardized as a 26-letter alphabet. Alec Baldwin killed the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust right before Russia, Ukraine, 201 days after his birthday, and they had to say it happened at 1:50 local time. And again, it was compared to Brandon Lee, and Brandon Lee's death was compared to Bruce Lee's death in Game of Death, where Bruce Lee died on the 201st day of the year. And again, Alec Baldwin's birthday is the same day that Brandon Lee was buried. But again, Illuminati is 150. The sun's 150 million kilometers away on average. And Order of Illuminati, founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, is 201. And he died in history 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. And State of Israel, another Jesuit creation, 201-150. David Ben-Gurion, who declared it a nation, the first prime minister, dead 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. Does Dan have a salsa bottle that equals 201 today? How about 150, Dan? Here, last week's headline. Vatican, Jesuit, what was it, Koning? Here, I got to show you this headline from last week during Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. Today's Yom Kippur, which is 144, by the way. Oh yeah, Google's massive 201 layoff ritual. All the big tech companies have 201 all over them. Okay. Where? Oh, hold on. It's not specific enough search. But if in case you missed this headline from last week, what in the world? Let's try it this way. Oh my goodness. Here, last week's headline right here during Rosh Hashanah. Wartime Pope Pius XII probably knew about Holocaust early on, letters show. Again, everybody knows the Catholic Church turned a blind eye. But notice where the documentation is that was in the Vatican archives. the letter written to the Pope about the Holocaust came from a Jesuit priest, Father Lothar Koenig. Or was it hidden all this time in a salsa bottle? You know? Maybe it was a misprint. Maybe it was actually in Dan's salsa cabinet. But yeah, you know, when Dan made that video, it was right when my book Number Games had come out. And then Derek had to double up. And Derek put out a video at the time saying that, yeah, he wasn't so sure everything with the pandemic was the Jesuits either. And he was more interested in Dan's book than mine that was out. He told people to maybe just skip my book and wait for Dan's book about the organic side because that's more interesting. It's just like, really? After all that we've compiled this fast, I mean, to put out the book that I did, Number Games, with as much information that was in there as fast as we got it out, to warn people about the pandemic, not to mention in the book it accurately forecasted when they'd wind down all the mandates and all the crap that they were doing, accurately forecast in the book more than a year before it happened. But it's like, why are these people who have been around and who I've promoted their channels and helped them get a following, why are they now attacking what the work's about? And, like, seriously, everything's just organic? Gavin Newsom, Slick Willie, Jesuit scumbag. He's just saying 56% in 56 days because the universe? Essentially, all of the people who are doing this become complicit with the agenda and a part of the agenda and part of the reason the world is getting fucked worse than it's ever been fucked. So, it's disgusting. All right, congrats to the winners. Interesting. All right, and Amy also chipped in. Amy's doing good work. Amy noticed that Usher Raymond IV, who was, again, the singer Usher, who was named the halftime performer, has 3 of the same Gematria ciphers as Super Bowl LVII. That's an interesting observation. No doubt about it. That's part of the reason he was taken. And she says the Super Bowl will be 201 days before the anniversary of his first ever album, which will turn 30 years old a little bit later in 2024, 201 days later. So, that is interesting. And then the other thing I noticed about Usher is almost all the headlines focused on his song Yeah with Lil Jon. That was a big song in 2004. So that song's going to turn 20 years old next year, the year that the Super Bowl will be in 2024. And the Super Bowl's in Nevada, which has Gematria 20. And today is 20 weeks before the Super Bowl as well. So I thought that's probably also part of it. That song will turn 20 years old just days before the Super Bowl. But yeah, great observation, Amy. And, you know, I hope in 3 years I'm not talking about how Amy's turned to now everything's just organic and nobody's manipulating us. Because once upon a time, these people I'm talking about also used to do good work. Definitely not anymore, but yeah, Amy's website is cracktheircode.org, and she does have a YouTube channel, Crack Their Code, all one word, like you see her name in the channel. So, okay. Well, the line's been open, and I've been filibustering, and we don't have any phone calls. So, what else is new? The trolls are always so abundant online. But, yeah, I'd encourage anyone who gets into speaking out online to be real careful about the people they interact with. Because, again, a lot of people do seem to be some kind of agents. There's a woman, Kathy. You know, she always tried to be real persistently involved. And, she kept insisting, for example, that she help with me on the delivery of my books when Number Games came out. And she said, you know, that she could help, like, ship off 300 of them. And I kept telling her no, but she kept insisting. And then what she did is she nearly sent all 300 copies of books that I sent to her, which was expensive, to false addresses. So, like, literally almost everyone that she was supposed to ship the book to never got it. And then I had to send out, like, 300 more books. And I was already selling the book at a razor-thin price. So back then I spent hours and hours shipping books in the post office, having to reship books that I thought were already shipped. And, or I take it back. She filled out the labels, but then the books didn't make it. I sent her like 50 free books, and who knows what she did with those. But the point was, after that happened, then she also started attacking me like all the time and trying to slander me online. And I was like, okay, so she's going to insist on doing this, create a huge problem for me, and then start slandering me all the time online. And now she's over there cheering on No Discernment Dan and the Gematrinator, who's just been making Gematria look super wacky for years now. But, yeah, again, that just from my own experience, just a lot of people that attempt to interact are not good people. You know, the guy who asked for me to meet up, and I told him I'd take him out to lunch, and then he ran up a huge lunch bill. He just kept ordering everything on the menu, every dessert, several drinks. I was like, who orders different drinks? Like, but then as soon as I do that for him, then he's online slandering me. And he also hangs out now around No Discernment Dan and Derek at the Gematrinator. So again, there's a lot of people who've tried to hang around the movement who just seem to be bad actors and people to just, you know, put poison in the well. And, yeah, again, for all of you guys who can't see who the authentic one is in this movement who's actually doing something, again, that's called having no discernment. That's called having low intelligence. And sadly, that explains who a lot of people are in this world. Truth Matters says, hey, Zach, a little off topic, but do you know that Genesis 11, it speaks of the land of the Shiner, and Shiner has named Gematria of New York. It's also 1-9, speaking of Tower of Babel. Well, I think you meant to write Genesis 11:9. I always bring up the point about how Genesis 11:9 is where the story of the Tower of Babel ends, because, of course, that's like the date of September 11th, and the story of the Tower of Babel is it was the tower to divide the people of the world by language. Again, that emphasis on how important language is. But September 11th, 11/9. Yeah, no doubt about it. So the Shiner New York connection is interesting, though. I had not noticed that. Good one. Thank you. I don't want anyone to pit roast a pig for me. That's not something I'd even want to be a part of, to be perfectly honest. So, no thank you. I'm not coming down for any pig roasting. I'd rather roast some Jesuits. But I appreciate it. I think you meant that in a nice way. It's just, that's definitely not my thing. I remember I had this nice Hawaiian family that I grew up next to, and the girl in the family, she was a couple years younger than me. Kaylani, I can still remember her name, but they had her raise this pet pig, and then I remember when she was just bawling her eyes out because the day came that they were going to kill the pig and eat it. And I thought, why raise a pig as a pet for a child and then kill it to eat it? Culture, man. Again, a lot of cultural stuff. It's just like, where did it really come from? It's like something the sociopaths gave to us to make us all really messed up. So... All right, but yeah, we'll leave it there for now. It doesn't look like there's going to be any response. There never is. It's just nonsense and trolls and a bunch of idiots who have no balls. There has been somebody calling in over and over on no caller ID, but we're not going to take that call. We know how those go. They just sit there in silence or burp into the phone. "20 seconds. I'll do 20 more seconds, and I'm ending this stream if we don't get a call in from somebody who can tell me how it's all organic. No Discernment Dan should be calling in right now. He's probably watching the video. You call in and tell me how it's not the Jesuits, Dan. Why for the last 3 years you've been equating things with your salsa bottle. I mean, it's just pathetic. It is pathetic. How can you say that all we're doing is connecting numbers to numbers? That's never what we've done. We've always connected things to dates. You know, Dan's even a huge Lakers fan. Did Dan forget that we documented all the Kobe Bryant stuff with 41 for years before he died at age 41 while traveling from Catholic Mass on the Pope's 41st day of his age? Was that his salsa bottle too? What salsa was it that day, Dan? Kobe obviously didn't have to do anything with the Catholic Church or dying in a perfect numerical ritual and buried in Corona del Mar right before coronavirus. Not to mention Corona del Mar is another 56 like coronavirus. I think 20 seconds have passed. I don't think we have any callers. The thing is, I am right about who it is. It is the Jesuits. It's very obvious. That's why all the people, all the players on the world stage are part of this game. Again, it's why all the history makes so much sense. It's why the nation's capital is in the Jesuit stronghold. All right. Anyway, welcome, you guys. Thank you for hitting the like and the share. Oh, hold on. We got one call right as I was about to wrap it up. Maybe we got somebody here who thinks it's the salsa bottles. 585, you're on.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, Zach, I want everyone in the chat to report anyone who is putting up defamatory information about you. You can, their website said if they notify you and you go on, report them to YouTube. Report these people because they are destroying people's lives. I've had enough. I've had enough of it, and this is my first time calling, but I think it needs to be said that everyone in the community should report these spammers. Report them to YouTube, report them to their employers. They're destructive, sick, immature people.
It's really annoying how many people are dedicated to attacking me. Like and again, to remind you guys that fake Wikipedia page that attacks people who supposedly speak out on truth, I had the longest write-up out of anybody on that platform. Like a longer write-up than Alex Jones. Think about that. How many people actually know my name? Not that many people. How many people know Alex Jones' name? Way more. That website spent more time attacking me than anybody else in the world. And on YouTube, I mean, I don't know anybody else who has a YouTube channel that's as attacked as I am. And there's people who are way more famous, who you'd think would have way more haters. I don't know anybody else who has a Patreon that's constantly being harassed 24/7, 365 since the day they set it up. I mean, to be joining on the bandwagon of attacking me makes you really a pathetic person who must like the way tyranny is ruling right now. Again, my motivation to get up, that's why it annoys me about No Discernment Dan saying in his video that I only do this for ratings and money. I mean, that's such bullshit. If I wanted ratings and money, I'd be in a different topic, because there's a million ways to make way better money on YouTube than having your channel deleted and censored all the time, trying to speak out about what's going on. And again, for 5 years, for all of you who weren't here, I put out tons of content every day, worked my ass off, and never raised a penny. I mean, have you seen anybody do that work every day for 5 years for nothing? So, again, for what does come in right now, it's well-deserved and it's nowhere near enough. There should be way more people supporting this work. We should have way more resources. The reason I didn't just go out to 9/11 this year is because so much support fell off this year, and I'm not sure that's the actual supporters based on actually talking to people, and now they can't sign up anymore. It feels like something else is going on. But all the people just trying to, gang up on all the different things I'm trying to fight each day, how pathetic. And seriously, like Derek, who's probably watching right now, who's making a lot of money. For all of you guys who don't know, this calculator right here, this website I'm on, it's not my website. I do have my own website with a calculator that's totally free and you can download. A lot of people this year, I think, have stopped supporting because they think this is my website. I've gotten a lot of emails about how greedy I'm getting to now be charging for the calculator. This website is not mine. I do not... Gematria.com is Derek's website, who used to be a good decoder. Now the work he does is dog shit, and it is. Some things are okay, but he's taking people and just making Gematria look dumb. Day after day. What I do does not make the work look dumb. You can't find a Derek video where he's talking about something in the day and then later that day the exact same thing happens to prove his point. That happens with my work all the time. That's how you know you're over the target. Go back and watch August 9th's videos all day, only for it to end with an assassination when that's what we talked about all day, and how it'll be coming again, and it's clearly been foreshadowed. Again, we've been ahead of the curve. We've been accurately forecasting the future. We know who's running the game. We're not ignoring the organic side. It's just my motivation to be here isn't to teach you about the Kabbalistic reasons to be into Gematria. Mine is to show you how the cabal uses it every day to make a mockery of our lives. And by the way, did they not just put out the latest COVID vaccine on 9/11? What's my book called again? And what did I educate about in that book? How obvious it is that the same people who are behind a 9/11 are the same people who are behind COVID, which is the Jesuit cabal that goes back to Vatican Hill. So, anyway, I appreciate your thoughts. I don't think if you ever report anyone who attacks me, anything's going to ever happen to their videos. But God forbid I tried to address myself to any of my trolls, my video always goes down in a second. So that's also what we have to deal with on these big tech Jesuit platforms, which they are. So thank you, though, caller. I appreciate it.
Well, not only that, I think they think that you're just about sports. And
Nobody thinks that. That's what the trolls try to do. They try to diminish it and make it just about sports and then try to just attack every time we get a game wrong, which is also disingenuous because, like, okay, you're ignoring all the good things we did today to just attack that, and then your fake stats for your slander campaign. But yeah, and go ahead.
But not only that, you tell people you don't need to put down $100. Put $5. You don't promote gambling.
I promote being smart with your money, making it fun, and turning a $5 bill into 100. And like exactly. That's why all the attacks on me are false and slanderous. And it gets annoying now watching Dan, who used to be a good contributor to the community, now get on the slander, and he's just saying things that are blatantly false in his video, and it's just annoying. So.
Well, it's defamation. He takes clips. He just takes clips. He won't show the whole. Like I thought it was great that you showed the clip from News that about 9/11. You're reporting facts. That was facts, and you do more than sports, and people don't realize that.
Sports is a small percentage of what we do. And I'll tell you what, that is my greatest frustration with this. I've already proven my point with sports. Again, this is a fact, you guys. Hate all you want, but nobody in the history of the world has come anywhere near calling as many futures as I have, and we did it in a short period of time. We were talking about how at the Kentucky Derby this year, the guy who's been on there forever, he said he's only called a few winners over 40 years. We have a ton of winners in all the major races in less than a decade's time of doing this. So that's why people attack. It's like, I mean, these attacks are like so without perspective and so idiotic. Had you taken all my futures advice and put a bet on every future I've ever put out there, you'd be so far ahead it's not even funny. And again, and people are. I mean, people in this world are. So, but yeah, sports, the thing about sports is, though, I wish I didn't even have to focus on it anymore. What I want to be out doing is going city to city, just like how we did in New York and in other places, getting people to stop what they're doing and listen and help get the word out and inspire more people to do that. When I was out on the streets of Yakima every single day for 60-some straight days before it got too crazy, because it seemed like all of a sudden they're now sending crazy agents out. We had a guy come by and flash a gun. We had one guy come out and pretend to be gay, and then he picked up a bunch of rocks and threw them at us. So anyways, like, things are starting to get sketchy, so we shut down the Yakima thing. It was supposed to be 100 straight days, but we were out there for 60 straight days. And remember what happened when I was doing that? Other people in the community got out and started speaking out on their megaphones in their corner. It finally inspired more people to do it. That's why I said when you do it, it does inspire people. We just only have to be doing it more and more groups, nonstop. And that could be happening, but then the support fell off once we got out and did it. And part of that reason is because I was doing less sports picks. People only want to, a lot of people only want to support this work for sports picks, which is so annoying and so short-sighted. And that's why they put all their symbolism on the money. Everyone's just so obsessed with money. You can never accuse me of that. For 5 years, I demonstrated how to break the system, how to not be a part of the system, how to resist. And I've always taught to resist all this consumerism and bullshit. But again, yeah, I wish I didn't have to do the sports thing anymore. Again, it's not as effective as it used to be because they've caught on to how bad we're exploiting them. It still wins at a considerable rate, but it's not as good as it was years ago, which I'm always honest about and tell people, and that's why I say it's best to play small, lose small, win big. The exact strategy I teach now, which is a winning strategy. A lot of people made so much money in week one, they can lose the rest of the weeks in the NFL season with the same parlay strategy, and they'll still make a profit for the year. A lot of people had a good week last week, too. Again, Troll Boy's putting out videos about how much you would have lost. And now Dan's also making videos like, again, that's the thing about Dan and Derek. Derek put out a video right after we nailed another Super Bowl prediction years ago from the start of the year, and he put out a video that day saying that nobody in the community has proven that Gematria is how sports is rigged. It's like, how can you be putting out this video the day after we just called another future from the start of the year? I mean, what a joke. And then he went on to explain why Gematria and sports are not necessarily connected. He said he was in Vegas, and he had this obscure way of decoding the game. I can't remember exactly what he said, but I was like, okay, I've never taught to decode a game like that, so you decoded a game in that way, which doesn't even make sense to me, and then you lost, and then so that's your proof that... I mean, it's just such a dumb, disingenuous argument. It's like, okay, here's a guy over here who's proven it in college and pro and all these different things, tennis, Wimbledon. I mean, just a huge resume already, and then Derek's got some shitty, dumb example because his decode method, which didn't even make sense, didn't work in Vegas. It's just like... These are not rational thoughts. These are stupid arguments. Just like how Dan's now saying that salsa bottles can be explained just as easily as Jesuits. I mean, this is insanity. So.
It is. And I want the chat to understand there are still trolls in the chat.
They're always here. I mean, they're always lurking. You guys, when I made a point that I was down at my mom's house last week, do you know what happened? I don't know how the trolls got my mom's phone number. They've had it forever. I mean, but they just kept calling her all week while I was there visiting her. They just kept calling her phone over and over. And they're fucking losers. She picks up the phone and they say things to her like, hey, want to get naked with me? It's just like, who are these fucking losers? Like, you're calling my mom and just being an ass? I mean, these people... They are demented.
They're demented.
They are demented. Yeah.
And they thrive on this attention. This little bit of attention, they thrive on this. It's a joke to them. And everyone in the chat has to be aware that if you come across them, you can report them. You can report them. And it's defamation. So, and harassment. Like your mom, that's harassment. That is downright harassment.
Well, that's what they do. I mean, they're always harassing. I mean, I've gotten used to dealing with harassment because it's been almost a decade of it now. But yeah, and that's why all the people get mad when I rant about how big these losers are and they get all in their feelings like, oh, that wasn't right for you to say that, Zach. Again, don't judge what's right and wrong. You're not in my shoes. You're not the one getting harassed by these total losers. Like, honestly, am I wrong that a guy like that who's calling up somebody's mom and just saying stupid shit in the phone? I mean, does this person need to be breathing? Again, I'm not joking, you guys, when I say I wish I lived in the Wild West and we could settle disputes like that with a little gun draw. And then, if I shoot the guy, I say to the sheriff, I'll say, you know what? All that guy was doing with his life was calling my mom and sexually harassing her. Sheriff would be like, yeah, we don't even need to bury that guy. Let's just feed him to the coyotes. So.
Yeah, they're sick. They're sick.
Anyway.
I just wanted to bring that awareness to you, and there are people that fight. We're fighting for you, Zach.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, you're welcome. Take care. All right, she wants to report everybody. I don't really care about so much reporting people. I think it's a futile effort on YouTube. But yeah, again, what I would say to all the people being persuaded by the trolls and the haters, because it seems to work. Because there's a lot of people that used to support here who are now big fans of the trolls now. It's just like the Twilight Zone to me. But how are you going along with these losers? That's what I want to know. How come you guys can't ever call in and make a real argument? All right, I'm going to leave it there for now. If No Discernment Dan wants to explain how all these 144s with the Kennedy family and the Kennedy curse, and again, I want him to explain why it's a joke to sync things up with the Jesuit leader. I want to know how Derek can seriously call, and again, Derek, you guys work for General Electric, one of the most evil companies in the world. I mean, was he ever really on our side? Who knows? But his calculator that he built, it has been helpful. And the reason I use his calculator online instead of mine is because just it shows up bigger and brighter. Again, if you guys don't know, that calculator's Derek's. I'm not charging for my calculator. My calculator's at my website, GematriaEffectNews, under the calculator tab. Works the exact same way. It's just not as bright and colorful. And again, you can download this. And for you guys on Google, if you have not downloaded it, will you let me know if it's working now? Because the web team should have this done. They charged me for it. It better be. I don't have a Google phone to experiment with. It hasn't had any problem on Apple. On Google, it needed some update recently to be downloaded. That should be done. Somebody can get that feedback back to me. I would appreciate that. But yeah, it's totally free. The stuff I put out there is totally free. Free to find truth. It's not free each month. I have to pay the bill each month. And again, again, good social media platform, censorship free, good way to network with people who care. I'm just disappointed. And again, this is the thing that nobody wants to cooperate. Nobody wants to cooperate. How many people are actually networking and getting out and doing things in their city? How many people in this community that are aware of this knowledge right now and how rigged sports are not doing anything and not going out to the stadiums in their own town, but are sitting on the couch right now watching the games, doing exactly what the cabal wants us to do? All right, we'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Maybe we'll get a response one of these days. Low discernment Dan or no discernment Derek want to do a response. Again, I'd love to see it. Till next time, Truth Seeker.